Hey, what's going on, Valkyrie owners? This is Dustin Moody, and I got the Turbo Valkyrie back from Ryan. Took it down to Colorado last week, and he loved it. Had a great time, and he loved it so much he wanted me to bring it back and add a few more features to it. And I said, sure, I'll do that. But the last day, or almost the last day, second to last day before we came back, we had a problem with it trying to flood out on us, and so I told Ryan, I said, hey, we're going to be bringing this thing back anyways. Let's go ahead and let me bring it back. I need to fix this problem. We need to come up with a fix, get it solved so we don't have to worry about this anymore. And he said, you know what, Dustin? Before I bought that Valkyrie, he said, I did a search on our good friend Google, and he seen that it was over and over, had a hydrolock issue, hydrolock over and over. He said, these things got a problem with hydrolock. And I said, really? I didn't know that. But, and I determined pretty quickly that we had a float sticking, which I thought was odd. And ironically enough, the first time I fired the fuel system up on this bike, it tried to hydrolock on me. Same deal. I got everything, the floats freed up, got everything working, everything was fine, and I had no reason to suspect any problems or issues. The thing that's different about the Turbo Valkyrie versus your standard Valkyrie is I have added a fuel system, like a fuel pump to the fuel system. You have to have that when you increase boost. You have to increase fuel pressure to the float ball. Hopefully I can keep from rambling here and try to keep this video short. That way I don't lose you guys. Anyways, I got to bring it home. I got to come up with a fix, which I think I have came up with. I thought it'd be worth making this video, making you guys aware of this, and hopefully, maybe when you guys can try my fix and see if it works on your stock bike, which I believe it will. I have this book here that I've already got it opened up to the page. I've had it for a long time, used it quite a bit. It gives all this technical information that I need on basically about any bike from 1990 to 2005, whether that be ATV or street bike or what have you. But I've got it open up to the page for the Interstate, the Tour, and the California edition. It's got all three side-by-side comparison. It's got all the main jets, which is 100, the idle jets, which is 35, exactly the same as in this carburetor. But the important thing that it gives me, and what I want to focus on here, is the float level in inches, which is supposed to be 0.54 plus or minus 0.02. And that's across the board on all three. Go ahead and bring the camera right over here, listen. What we got going on here is, here's these carburetors. I got the float and the needle out right here. The thing I want to point out first is, if you notice, I'm pushing down that float, and it's literally bottoming out on the top of the carburetor. Which I have the carburetors obviously upside down right now, and that's how you measure your float heights. The thing I want to point out here is, when I push it all the way down, which that's all the movement I have, when I push it all the way down where it bottoms out, I can take a pick and go right in here where the needle is, and I can move that thing around, and it's sloppy in the hole. It has hardly any pressure. It has a little bit of pressure, but hardly any pressure. There's no way I feel confident that any of these are going to hold when they get full, when they hit the top of that carburetor with fuel. When it gets full of fuel, and those floats will float all the way up and hit the top, I do not feel confident it's going to shut fuel off. That's the job of this float and this needle and seat, is to shut the fuel off to the carburetors. So I was telling Ryan the problem, and he said the petcocks were what the problem is. I said, man, I'm not going to disagree that the petcocks don't have problems, but that's not necessarily what's causing the carburetors to flood. The main job of the needle and seat is to stop fuel from flowing into the carburetor. And if they fail, and you leave your petcock on, or your petcock was to fail, then sure, you're going to flood your motor out. You're going to fill it up with fuel, no doubt. So what the deal is, we want to go ahead and measure this. I got the digital calipers out here, Mako brand. They're not knockoffs, not cheap, but either way, we're not trying to be 100% accurate right now. We just want to get a ballpark idea of what we got going on. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this one. I went down just a little bit too much. Right there. 0.36 roughly, take or give. Okay, that is obviously way too short. That needs to be what we said the spec was, 0.54, take or give, a couple thousandths. So I have this one that I have modified now. I'm going to measure it. I moved it just a little bit too much. right there. I'm at 0.56, which is within the specs. 0.54 depending on how, depending on which time I measure. But I'm not really looking for a 100% accurate measurement right now. I just want to get an idea on this video and show you guys that look at the difference. I mean, you can tell, you can even just tell by looking how much higher this one is than that one. Can you see the difference? I mean, it's crazy. You can see how much play it has. And the difference I want to also point out is just the weight alone of the float, the full weight of the float hanging on that needle. I can still spin the needle in the bore, but I cannot wiggle it around in the bore. And that's the whole deal about it is, if you notice, these have a cone point. So when the cone point goes in the hole, it's going to center itself, which is what's happening now is the needle is centering itself in the seat, just from the weight of the float. Now, if I was to apply just a slight bit amount of pressure like the fuel level would, I mean, the pressure dramatically increases on that needle. I feel 100% confident that this is going to stop fuel from flowing into the carburetor. Now, why is this happening? These are preset floats. There's non-adjustable right here. The needle just literally sits inside of there, like so. What I have done is basically I have added a small coil spring, which you can cut the height of this coil spring depending on. It's real similar to the coil spring out of like a pen, a pen that you would write with. And basically, I'm just putting that. I just dropped it, but I'm putting that little coil spring in between the float and that top of that, or in between that needle and the top of that float right there. And I'm basically taking out all, see all that play right there? I'm taking all that play out with that coil spring. What I think has happened, we could argue or discuss this till we're blue in the face of what's caused this problem. But I'm making an assumption that the floats themselves are maybe possibly warping with the ethanol that we have in fuel or whatever. I'm thinking that's probably what's causing these things to warp and making the adjustment be off. So anyways, you guys on the forum, let me know what you guys think. If you have any other suggestions. One other thing I did try was, instead of putting the coil spring on top of these, see these little washers right here? I stacked like basically 2 washers or 3 washers right on top of the needle like so, and just kept stacking them and to adjust the height of. The thing I didn't like about the washers was I did not feel confident that vibrations and jarring and this float going up and down, that those wouldn't possibly work out or fall out. So I didn't like the idea of using that. So I thought, I was trying different types of springs. Like these are real similar to the style of springs you would have on like a car carburetors. A lot of car carburetors have float spring. They call them float helper springs. Oops. So I originally thought, hey, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a helper spring on it. Well, that's not necessarily going to work very well. And if I could adapt that, I would work for the turbo bike because I have an electronic fuel pump. Now, on a stock bike, I don't believe this would work because you only have gravity-fed fuel. Gravity will not push this spring open if you were to adapt that. But the coil spring, as the level goes down, this still pulls the needle up. So this will still function like a stock carburetor will. So your gravity-fed fuel system should still work perfectly fine with this. But anyways, folks, reply back. Let me know what you think. I don't really want to get in an argument or discussion about whether the petcock or the float's issue. I just want to know if what do you guys think about this fix, and I would love to have somebody try this out on the stock bike. Just let me know what you think. And how many of you guys have actually measured the float level to see if they're off anytime you went through your carburetors. Just very, very interesting. Alright, appreciate it. Let me know, guys.